Hi everyone, welcome back to the Three Sisters in a Vans videos. Today's video we're going to talk about our trip across the Nullabor, the second trip across the Nullabor from west to east. And we're going to finish off with our time in Coober Pedy. So it's a long travel video, this one.
Yeah.
We'll try and keep it not super long in length. So
Bit of distance travelled.
There was a bit of distance travelled, yeah. So we just left off our last video. We left Esperance and we were making our way at the start of the Nullabor, and we're going to stop at some different stops this time than we did when we were coming from South Australia.
Sure.
So the first day we did a decent trip. It was 283 kilometres and we stayed at
where did we stay? The first
10
stop
Mile
was
Rocks.
10 Mile Rocks, that's right.
10 Mile Rocks campground, which is just a free camp along the Nullabor. There's plenty of free camps along the Nullabor, isn't there?
And so many beautiful ones.
Yeah, and like so much space. Like, you have your own space there. I think there was maybe 5 to 10 other campers when we stopped there.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was worried about on our first crossing, whether if you got to somewhere, if there wasn't enough room and you'd already driven your kind of distance for the day, you'd have to keep going. But we never had that problem. There was always so much space. Yeah.
And there was a toilet at 10 Mile Rock campground as well, drop toilet, which a typical drop toilet, nothing fancy, but did the job. So we stayed there the night, got up early, left, and we were heading towards Coober Pedy. We weren't sure where we were going to stay that night, but we did do a stop along the way, didn't we?
We did a beautiful stop at a spot called Newman's Rocks, and there's Newman's Rock Pool there as well. And it was a beautiful place to explore. It was kind of just an easy access kind of off
the highway. About a 5-minute drive down a pretty good track. And then just this beautiful big flat kind of undulating rock that just kind of went every direction, didn't it? It was huge. Yeah, it was massive. We did a really good walk along it, and around and explored, and the girls found evidence of camels. Yes, so they were looking, and hoof prints. And just explored all the little rocks, nooks and crannies.
We didn't find the rock pool. I think that was a bit further out. We would have had to keep venturing, or four-wheel drive track maybe out that way. We did find some cool spots though. We did. And the girls did a bit of lying down on the rocks. They did. It was a very nice place to kind of, it was quiet, it was off the highway, you kind of just get down and feel the
wind coming through. It was beautiful.
It was lovely.
So there's lots of little stops along the way you can do to see many things. This is probably one of the only ones. We did a couple along the way back, but good to stop and have a little look. And then we were back on our way, and this was probably our biggest day of driving. Wasn't it?
It was a big one.
Long because we had that stop as well, which we stopped for about an hour.
We did.
Which added to the time. So we drove and drove and drove.
We did. We probably drove a little bit further than we had wanted to drive that day. So
we've been trying to get off the road well before dusk, but this time we kind of were about half an hour too late. So we did about 550 kilometres. This is probably our biggest driving day, probably. And stopped just past the Majura Pass lookout. And we stopped at a nice little campground there. Again, they had some drop toilets there. They were pretty nice, those ones. They were pretty clean and, very, very good. And stayed there just briefly for the night. And then got up
and going again early the next morning.
And we left there and we were heading towards... Yalata, So we weren't sure again how far we were going to get, but we were stopping probably somewhere a little bit different along the way, but we did stop. We did have a bit of a good sightseeing stop along the way. We did. We missed this on the way out because it wasn't quite the right season, but we got to Head of Bite on the way back, and so we were there on the last day of the off season. Weren't we? And so kind of almost the start of the whale season. So we got a good price
right at the start
because they upped the price a little bit, but also you got the chance of seeing more, so of seeing whales. which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we stopped there.
We did, and it was super windy.
Yeah.
But the views were incredible, and most exciting of all, we actually did get to see whales breaching, not too close into shore, a little bit further out, but so exciting.
It was
so
very
lovely.
exciting.
Yeah.
I guess there was one downside to it. Was when we pulled up, there was so many flies. The flies were just incredible. Yeah, so many.
So we were going to eat our lunch, I think.
Yeah, we were. We couldn't eat it outside because there were that many flies, so we had to eat inside the caravan.
Yeah.
But but the whales and the walk was pretty cool.
Yeah, incredible views.
So we left there and we headed on and we stayed camped at another free camp at
Yalata?
Yalata.
Yes.
So just off the highway. They did have a really big campground at one stage there, but looks of it, they closed it off because probably people were not doing the right thing and putting there is a bit of rubbish unfortunately left at the campsites, a lot of toilet paper, which is not very nice, and just rubbish floating around. So obviously the council or whoever manages that's closed it off, but we did get a pretty good spot away from other people.
We did. We had a nice campfire that night, and even though they've closed access off for driving caravans and vehicles through, you can still go for a walk through the back there, and it was really nice. It was a really nice walk through out the back there. It just seemed to go on forever. It was lovely.
Yeah, and this was, I guess, the last night stop on the Nullabor because we were going to finish off at Penong. So I guess one thing we were very glad to be finishing the Nullabor is because of the dog, the risk to animals when you're driving along there and camping. If you let your little furry ones run free, they do have the 1080, the poison laid out everywhere.
So that's something. This is something we didn't talk about in the first video, and it was something that we were hyper vigilant with because the vet spoke to me about it before we left. She had an experience with the dog and the 1080 baits, and she had said how awful it was. And people, lots of people have posted about how quickly and easily it happens. You let the dog off to go for a wee, they've gone for a couple of minutes, sniffing around in the bush, do a wee and come back, and that's all it's taken for them to have consumed a bait. And even in the areas you think, well, there shouldn't be baits here, they know that birds pick things up and carry them and drop them, and so really we kept Charlie on a leash the whole time.
Yep, tied up on a leash. You can buy dog masks. We did order one, but didn't come soon enough to one of the post offices.
No.
So we managed without it.
It's kind of like a mesh muzzle, so they can't actually eat through it.
Put it on when they were outside, I guess, which for Charlie's a fair bit. But we just kept him on a lead and didn't let him wander.
Cats didn't go outside.
No, cats didn't go outside, and we were pretty good with it. But something you've got to be very mindful for.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do have a lot of signage up in lots of places.
It's everywhere.
So you would have to be really not looking to not see it and not be reminded. But if you are used to letting the dog out for a quick wee or to have a quick run around and then come back in, that's all it could take. So we were really, really careful with that because we love our Charlie boy.
Yep, we do. And that was the last night. I guess you could call Penong the final night of the Nullabor.
Yeah.
And we had a very long 120 kilometre drive from Yalata to Penong.
So we got to Penong quite early that morning, and that was quite intentional because we were only staying there one night. It was kind of the halfway point between crossing the Nullabor and getting up to Coober Pedy, and we wanted to get there nice and early to do some washing and get clothes dried. We wanted to clear out, clean out, all of those sorts of things because you don't have we don't have a washing machine on the trip over.
No, we'd only been, I suppose, on the road for 4 days now, but it's a long 4 days when you're travelling and cooped up in the car, so just a good reset at Penong.
Yep.
And then we're off again.
Yes.
Heading towards Coober Pedy, so we still had a few days travel. We'll try and do it as quick as we could. So we stopped, our next stop was at Kimba, the night stop.
Yeah, we stopped on the way.
We did have a lunch stop, So we stopped at Puchera, a tiny little town called Puchera, where we had lunch. And it was
a very cute little lunch stop. There was kind of some outdoor museum almost.
Yep, there was some information about the prehistoric ants that live there that are pretty cool. So the girls had good fun exploring that.
Yeah.
A little ramshackle shack made of tin.
Hammered out kerosene tins.
Yeah. So it was really cool. Yeah. There was, I don't know how many people. There's a little caravan stop there, I think, if you wanted to stay there.
Okay,
but we didn't see too much else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a cool little lunch stop.
It was great.
And we kept going, and we got to Kimber, which we'd heard some good things about the free camp by donation. And we got there, and yeah, it was all happening there. It was a big sports ground, and around the sports ground there's all camp spots where you can camp. They have showers, hot showers and toilets. So the hot showers, it's just a gold coin to get the shower going. But they had several shower and toilet blocks.
They did.
And several camping spots. And it was really nice.
It was, and it was really busy.
It was really busy, yeah. And in the middle of it all, I guess, is a really big free covered camp kitchen area, which is free to use, which is just amazing. So Kimber has a really, really good stopover spot. So you could stay there a couple of days and easily just reset, because the town itself looked pretty nice as well.
And even though it was really busy, there were a lot of caravans there.
Yeah,
there was so many spaces. And probably it was huge space for caravans.
Yeah, it'd be nice to explore the town, and like if you had a day to go and have a look at the town and go and get a coffee and do some stuff there.
Yeah.
We were just staying there for the night.
We were.
We left in the morning. We saw a big birdie.
The big galah.
The big galah on the way out. Yep, very massive, another big thing.
Yes.
So I got a photo of that one.
Yes.
And we were off almost to our turn go up to the centre. We did have a stop at Port Augusta to get some groceries because there wasn't going to be another grocery stop for quite some time. So we stopped at the Woolies there, got some groceries, and this was, I guess, another big day by the time we got to Glendambo, which is 430 odd kilometres. So it was a big day.
Especially because we had to stop. It made it a long day as well as long kilometres.
And it was probably a good couple of hours. So we did the shopping, and then we got some hot chippies for lunch. Got a good treat. And then kept going. And we finally got a real appreciation for what the desert looked like. So as we were driving up, because the Nullabor it's an interesting desert. It's not barren. It was fairly green when we crossed.
It was lovely.
But when we turned up from Port Augusta and started heading up, we definitely saw some more barren type landscape. It was just really cool.
Yeah, very different.
And we pulled into Glendambo, which is a big truck service station stop and a free camp there. And it was getting overcast. And it was absolutely freezing.
It was
so cold. It was just
We actually had a few really freezing cold nights across the Nullabor and heading up.
Yep.
Must have just been that time of year.
Just a bit of things were turning.
Yes, because during the day, lovely, but all of a sudden the sun dipped down and it got very cold.
Yeah, and so I think this is kind of the last rain that we saw as well. So there was a little bit of rain when we pulled in and were cooking dinner. And we got rugged up, and there is a shower and toilet block there as well, which is really cool. But again, we didn't use the shower there. We just stayed overnight quickly, got up in the morning and headed off to our major stop, which is what we're going to talk about next. Which is only 250 k's away, so we stopped at Coober Pedy. We're going to stay there for 4 nights because we wanted to have a good explore of Coober Pedy. Anyway, and
we were excited about it. I really had very little idea of what to expect of Coober Pedy. I'd heard mixed things.
And we weren't going to go there originally because we were going to go up the west coast because we'd changed our plans and decided to stay on the southern coast of WA and come back through this way. We were super excited to get the chance to see Coober Pedy when it wasn't going to be swelteringly hot, because you couldn't do it in summer in the warmer months. There's 7 or so months where it's just like unbearable unless you're underground. So we got there and our first night stay was at a free camp.
At the Old Timers Mine. And it was great.
Yeah, there was, I don't know, you probably could have fit 20, 25 vans in there. It's like a dugout kind of flat area because there's lots of places that are dug out in Coober Pedy, lots of digging and dirt. And next to the Old Timers Mine, which is next to the campsite, there's a toilet that you can use for free, which is nice.
Dug into the hill, an underground toilet.
Our first underground toilet experience, which was cool.
Yep.
So we did that underground tour, didn't we? Of the Old Timers Mine.
We did. So the Old Timers Mine was our first experience, really, of Coober Pedy and mining and underground and how things worked, and we loved it.
Yeah,
it was a great first tour.
The girls donned their hard hats. I probably should have put one on. I think I hit my head a few times. There's a self-guided tour you can do. You can also get a guided tour, but we did the self-guided one, and we followed the signs. There's all little points of interest that you can read.
The girls got a little kind of guide map. I think it was $40 for the family to kind of go through, so not expensive.
No, and we spent, I don't know, maybe an hour going through, because you go through the old mine and it gives you information about people digging there and who dug there and what they found, and then you work your way through all the bits and pieces, and you get up to some underground houses and how they dug out the houses,
and that was really cool. That was when the girls kind of started to say, I think I'd like to live underground. I want to live in a mine.
You'd almost have to if you were living in Coober.
Yes.
It was so cool. We spent so much time having a look at the cool house, and then the tunnels in there, and it was just amazing.
It was very cool.
Yeah, so this is the first of our mini tours that we're going to do around Coober Pedy.
They have a little gift shop attached to it if you want to have a look at opals. We had a look.
Of course, they've got their opals there.
Yes.
Yep.
Souvenirs.
So
and the guy was great for a good chat.
Yeah, he
was.
Well.
Gave some information.
Yep, the girls got some postcards from there.
Yes.
So always on the hunt for some good postcards.
Yep.
And that was what we did. We went to the Tourist Information Centre, got some info about some other tours, possibly mines that we could visit and what we could do. That was day one in Coober Pedy.
Great start.
It was a great start. So the next day we were leaving there, and we'd booked into the Opal Inn caravan park.
Yep.
So they'd got us in for a few nights, because I guess it was maybe slightly off season, but they had a special going on. So we'd booked in there for 3 nights. Or 4 nights.
4 nights.
4 nights, that's right.
So it was going to be 3.
So we stayed for 4 nights. So 5 overall in Coober Pedy. We did have to stop at the tyre place to get a new tyre on the trusty caravan, as you can see behind us. Yep. So just a new tyre on her, and she was good. Opal Inn.
Yep.
Not much to say about the Opal Inn. It's a caravan park in Coober Pedy. It's pretty basic, but it did the job. It was all right.
Yep.
The amenities were fine.
Yes.
The ladies' toilet's pretty good, better than the males' toilets.
I've heard, yes.
And we got locked out of our toilets a couple of times. They had an electronic lock and it malfunctioned, so there was a lineup of guys outside grumbling early in the morning about not being able to go to the toilet. So they were using the ladies' toilets, which was interesting.
Well, technically it is toilet humor, which you claim to enjoy.
It is not toilet humor, it is toilet tragedy.
Yep, they had paid water. You could, so you couldn't have a water hookup there. You could get power, but you had to pay $2, $5 or something.
Obviously, being in Coober Pedy, water's pretty can be scarce. Well, it can be. It used to be. It's a bit better now because they've got water hooked up, but it's still expensive to pump water through to Coober Pedy. So they do charge. It's not too much. So I think it's $1 or $2 for 20 litres. So it's pretty good. Yep. Could even be more litres than that. It could be even 40.
Yeah.
So anyway, we then planned out our next couple of days' adventures.
Yeah, because there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you can do.
There's so many mine tours you could go to.
Yeah.
So which ones to pick are hard.
Yeah. So there's some that are kind of more expensive. Yeah. There are some that are kind of really long, and they take you out of town and they do things and tours and. But we chose the ones that worked best for us and our family.
Yeah. And they were really cool.
They were great.
Yeah.
They were great.
The next stop. The next tour we went on.
We did the Serbian Orthodox Church.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did a drive out just on the edge of town. Yeah, we went to an old underground church, and it was amazing.
It was incredible.
The carvings and just the
stained glass kind of set into looking underground. It was beautiful.
It was.
The curved
really
kind of
nicely done.
arched ceiling that had all been dug out.
So there are a couple of churches you can go and do tours of. And most of them are by donations, so you put a little donation in the box when you go in there. But yeah, there's no one there. It was really eerie and weird.
They have beautiful music
on your
playing
own.
and
very
it just
very cool, peaceful walk through.
We're
not churchy people.
Reverential.
But it was really cool in there.
Yeah, it was stunningly beautiful. I didn't know what to expect from an underground church, and it was beautiful.
Hopefully the pictures do justice to how cool it was.
Yeah, it was really hard to capture because it was a feeling as much as a visual. With
the music in the background. So we enjoyed that greatly. And that was the first of our underground tours of the day. So our next stop was probably...
We did the Umuna.
Yeah, it was probably the best, I would say,
Opal
of the lot.
Mine tour.
The one that we enjoyed probably the most. The Umuna, gold mine tour. Opal mine tour, not gold mine.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was... It was a guided tour, which was really great. I mean, the first one doing a self-guided tour was nice to have a bit of an explore and have a look around, but having a guide with us.
You could ask questions, and she was, we found out she was German, and she'd been there for a few months, but she knew her stuff. She was really good. Yeah,
so the tour starts off with a documentary, a screening in a beautiful kind of little cinema.
And that was awesome.
It was great. It was so interesting. And taught us all so much.
So the history of
the founding of European settlers in Coober Pedy,
and how they come about finding the opals there.
Yes, and
really cool.
Coober Pedy we learnt was named because the indigenous word that was being used was Coober Pedy, which meant white man down hole, which became Coober Pedy, which the girls loved that. They thought that was so interesting that the place would be named in that way. So the tour starts with your video, the big screening, and then you go through the typical underground Coober Pedy house, I guess, and then you go down into the mine and you can have a look at the mine itself that's under there, which again is just so cool because it's just the way the land is. You can dig as long as you keep some supports there. It's just pretty stable. You can just dig and dig. And we learned that you could dig out as much as you wanted if you had some land, as long as you didn't encroach within a certain distance of your neighbour's property, and you could just collapse.
You could just dig and dig and dig, and you didn't dig into your neighbour's house. It was fine.
It was great.
Yeah, so just pretty cool. The girls really wanted an underground house then.
They did. And they walked. They've got, the guide had like a torch to shine on, so you can see where the rocks are in the wall. But then they also have the black light as well to see if it's coloured opal.
And that tells you if you've got proper opal.
Which was fascinating. And the idea that we could see opal in the walls, which they hadn't dug out. And they have no idea. There could be huge amounts of opals behind that, or there could be nothing, but they can't just keep digging the walls
obviously
out.
They dug out many dollars worth of opals from the mines there already. So I think that they'd done.
Happy to leave some for the tourists to see. And that was that tour. Now with some of the tours in Coober Pedy, you can't take dogs into. This one you couldn't. We're lucky that the weather was pretty kind to us this day. It was overcast and cool, so Charlie was just in the car with the windows down, chilling out. But the next one we went to, before we did that night, we went somewhere cool, didn't we? We did. So there's a bit of a big lookout, a bit of a high area in the middle of Coober Pedy where the big winch is, and there's there's the steel tree and another big replica
Yeah. So the big winch was built. It's a replica winch of someone who used to work, who'd opened up a store there and had a big winch. Something to do with that. And it's called the Big Winch, and they've got a restaurant there and a bar, and it's a really good look out. It's probably the highest point, and it looks out 360-degree view. I think there's a 360-degree view. Something you can see there as well.
Yes, and so the perfect spot to be up there for sunset.
Sunset, yes. So we were up there.
We did. We had a bit of an experience, and we took the girls up, and we got some
something to drink,
pre-dinner drinks and snacks, and they're really lovely. They had colouring in papers and pencils there for the girls, and it was a really nice vibe. There were heaps of people up there kind of just to watch the sunset, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was a really nice spot. So if you go into Coober Pedy, definitely do the sunset there.
I mean, and as we've said before, we're not people that go out for drinks and bars and tapas and dinners very often at all, but we kind of put this on the experiences list more than kind of a dinner or an eating thing.
That's
we said
right.
this was an experience that we thought was worth
cool.
having,
and the sunset
it was beautiful.
From there was just magnificent.
Yeah. That was nice.
That was a nice end to the day. And then the following day we did our last mine tour, which was an interesting one because it was phase mine, underground mine and underground house
tour.
So Faye, I can't remember her last name.
Don't know.
The first, maybe the only, or one of the only ones.
Yes.
Millionaire female opal miners from Coober Pedy.
Yes, and so they had an all-female, I think it was her and maybe two other women, all-female mine, doing all of the things. And
so we learned, we got to tour the mine itself where she dug up a lot of her opals, struck it rich.
Yes,
so I learned that she'd stuck at it for quite some time before she actually found a decent amount of opal.
Yes.
So persistence was the key there. And then we went through her house, and her underground house was just so cool.
Her underground house was not like the other two. Her underground house was, it was definitely, you would say, cool. It had like a retro 70s vibe. They said that back in the day, it was the house where a lot of parties were had, and you kind of really got that feeling. It was kind of very flowing through. There was, a kitchen, and step down, you go through, and there's like a bar, and it kind of flows through to another area. There was the first and possibly still only underground house indoor pool in Faye's house, in her living room.
Which would have been a happening spot if you had a pool in Coober Pedy.
So there was a pool with a record player and a lounge room, just all in there together in this underground house.
It was pretty cool.
And the girls...
And so different to the other tours we did, the other underground mines. And
the other houses were quite austere. They were quite, simple. There wasn't really much to them. They were just the basics.
This one she'd sold. Sold it all, and they turned it into a museum. And she'd moved to Queensland and bought a pub. Yeah, and obviously it was the way she'd left it many years ago, and just really cool. Really fascinating. So again, interesting learning about her story, and
an interesting lady who obviously was the tour guide there, knew lots about her and about all of the story, and it was great hearing.
And she gave us some good advice on some public noodling areas.
Yes. So, now noodling was a term unknown to us before Coober Pedy. So what is noodling, Tim?
Noodling is not a canoodling, not a pool noodling. You can sift through the rubble, I guess, of dugout mines and look for, and I suppose it's like it's kind of like noodling. You just sift through and try and find bits of opal in the dugout ground. Yeah,
because when they dig out huge amounts, they pass it through
machines,
conveyor belts and sifters and things, and then there's a huge pile left of all of the sifted through rubble.
So there's lots of piles.
And so they would have taken most of the good stuff. But there's always a chance that there's going to be some good stuff and some kind of average stuff in there just the average person to sift around and have a look for. And so sift around we did.
Yeah, there's a big public area that we went to, and the girls had a great time just going through. And you can do a little bit of digging as well. There's some digging spots. We started off with some sifting and big piles and just going through, and the girls found a few rocks that we brought back.
Yeah, so you can see how opal fever really would hit hard.
Yeah.
Because we were only there for a short period of time. We only had very, very limited knowledge. But when faced with the prospect of maybe finding opals in these public noodling areas, the girls went crazy.
Oh yeah.
And
I went crazy. I think I went,
we were in there amongst it.
Because you can lease little plots of land, or big plots of land, 50 by 50 meters, or I think that's a small one. And you can just start digging out of town. You can just dig and dig.
And it's inexpensive.
Opals. Yeah.
You kind of have a year-long lease and
$100, $200, something like that, and you can lease your little plot of land and dig away with everyone else. And there is a lot of digging. Like as you drive through and out of Coober Pedy, there is so many piles of dirt, evidence of mining. It's just
we saw a bit coming in, but and we thought, wow, that's a lot. But driving out of Coober Pedy, there just goes for kilometres and back off for kilometres as well.
There is so much land there that is mining, and that's, I guess, the fact that it used to be an ocean, and there could be opal anywhere under the ground. So
that was fascinating learning. I think it was at the Amuna mine where they had kind of a bit of a museum out the front. And learning about how it was an inland ocean and how there were prehistoric creatures there. And so I think some of the most valuable opals have been found. There were opalized fossils of ichthyosaur backbones or something which was just mind-blowing to think about. Really cool.
So pretty cool. And it's, I guess, one of 3 really cool opal sites around Australia you could go to.
Yeah.
I guess we'd done our opal touring and fossicking, and the girls found some little rocks that they possibly could have had some opal in. We're still not sure.
Well, they brought them back and they polished them up. They scrubbed them and cleaned them. They do look pretty cool.
There's little flecks of colour in some of them.
There are. So you can get potch, which is kind of colourless opal, and you can get kind of opal. You start to get just tiny flecks, and the girls have some tiny flecks of colour. They're pretty excited by their finds.
It's all about the experience, though.
It is.
We did stop at the opal shop. And there's a guy there who polishes and cuts opals, and he said he'd have a look if we had them, but we left them in the caravan. But I think his advice, I think it was him who said to us, opal that you find yourself is always more valuable than any opal that you can possibly buy. So it doesn't matter how colourless or whatever else it is, opal that you've actually found yourself is always the most valuable. So I think the girls will treasure their little box of rocks. And they got some little souvenirs from there as well. They each picked out a little
opal thing.
Yep. Which was nice. And then that leads us on to our last adventure at Coober Pedy, was outside of Coober Pedy.
Yes.
Just outside. We were going for a little drive to the Kanku Breakaways conservation area. So one that we could take Charlie to. Now, we should go back to Faye's. So Faye's underground tour and her house is dog friendly, so you can take your dogs there, which is really good.
And really dog welcomed.
Which was really nice.
She was very happy to have the Charlie through.
And so is the Kanku Breakaways conservation area. You can take dogs out there, which is where we went to see the breakaways. And just great large rock formations.
Beautiful, there's part of, leading out to what they call a section called the Painted Desert. And beautiful colours, different rock colours in there, purples and whites and oranges.
So much to see out there, the landscape. So you've got the hills, the breakaways, and then there's stories behind each one, Indigenous stories, and there's also the dingo fence that goes
the
stretches.
Dog exclusion fence from South Australia all the way up from out the ocean, out South Australia all the way up.
the Moonscape landscape where they've filmed many films.
Yes, probably Mirror Hill.
Yeah, Mirror Hill. So you're driving along and you see these reflections, these little flecks. And it looks like there's opals or something in the ground. But yeah, it's just the reflections of the little rocks there.
Yes.
It's just a really cool spot to go and explore.
Again, just another completely different landscape to anywhere else that we had seen.
Yeah, we saw a big flock of emus.
Big mob,
on a mob, of emus on our side of the fence as we're driving along.
Yeah, they were a big group.
Yeah. And just the drive itself is just fascinating, just driving along. And there's not much to the land, like not many trees out there, but it's really
no
cool.
trees,
it's
really.
really cool though to see. Yeah, I don't know we could live out there.
No, not high on the livability, but definitely high on
interesting
the visiting experience.
Yeah. So that was the last of our stops at Coober Pedy, and we were off the next day, weren't we?
We were heading off the next day.
We stayed there 5 days in the end, and we loved it. I'm glad we did it. Would highly recommend doing it. Obviously not when it's super hot though.
No.
And we were off, and our next stop, we were going up to the big one.
We were heading towards the centre, the very centre. We were heading towards Uluru.
Uluru, so Northern Territory, and Uluru is our next stop. So that's the end of this video. Our next one will be all about Uluru and driving up through the centre. So we hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you in our next one.
Absolutely.
See ya. Welcome back, everybody. And we are just chilling out, having a good old chat.